Hi everybody, I'd like to offer you a warm welcome to today's video. Now usually, as you know, I'm out on a photography adventure having fun somewhere, but today I'm in my office. It's not by choice, but someone is coming to buy my old car, so I said that I would be in this afternoon because it's the only time they could come and get it. Didn't think it would be very fair if I just disappeared and left them here. So I'm here today, and I thought rather than not doing a video at all, I thought I'd do a tutorial. If you've been following this channel from when it started, probably about a year ago now, I used to do a lot of tutorials early on, and I thought it'd be a good idea to do something which would fit in with the channel today. So today's tutorial is going to be a Lightroom tutorial, and it's going to be basically taking you guys through the processes that I use in my landscape photography picture processing. That's a mouthful. Basically processing my landscape photos. That's what I was meant to say. Now all this world of digital photography really kicked off in about 2003, and this is when digital sales soared past that of film, and then you had your big companies which you're familiar with like Nikon, Canon, Fuji and Sony and many more started battling it out to produce the best digital cameras. This is great if you're a photographer as well, because the competition in the marketplace means that you're going to get the better designs if they're competing against each other. And at this time we also got post-processing software. In fact, that's not entirely correct. The post-processing software actually came from all the way back around about 1990 when Photoshop came out, which is pretty crazy when you think about it, because you know, Adobe had the foresight to see that digital cameras were really going to be the next thing all the way back then when they weren't even really selling at all. So hats off to Adobe for that. But now we've got lots of programs. If you fast forward to today, we've got programs like Capture One, Aperture, Affinity and Lightroom, and that's what I use. And I use Lightroom because it's never let me down. I've used it since day one, and it's always done everything I needed as far as post-processing my photos. So today's video is going to be taking you through a step-by-step process into the world of editing your photos, especially landscape photos. But this is going to be a 3 or a 4-part series, and that's so I can give you bite-sized information that you can understand, you can take away, and you're not going away feeling overwhelmed because there's just been too much information to take in. Now next week I won't be doing the second part, it'll probably be the week after, because I'm in Wales next week visiting the tallest waterfall in the UK, which I'm really excited about. So I'll be making a video or a vlog all about that. Anyway, back to today's video. Let's really focus now on today's tutorial. So let's jump into this and get started. So I'm going to be starting this tutorial on the basis that you've captured your photos already and that you've loaded them into Lightroom and you're ready to do some editing. So as you can see, the picture here in front of you, this was a picture I captured when I visited a place called the Three Shires Head. This is a place in the Peak District. It's a beautiful spot where two waterfalls meet, and this also is the spot where 3 counties meet. So you've got, now I might get this wrong, but you've got Cheshire, Derbyshire and Staffordshire, I think, are the 3 counties, and they meet at this beautiful point right here. Now the day that I visited here on this photography adventure, which you can actually check out, I'll put a link just at the top of the video here if you want to watch that, but the day we visited here the weather was really poor. It was a complete whiteout, and this means that there was no detail in the sky whatsoever. So what I tried to do with this composition is I took it obviously vertically here, but I tried to crop off here a lot of the sky because it did nothing. As you can see, if anything, it's a distraction. Now I did actually try full crop, which was all the way down to the bridge originally, but that didn't work either. So it was nice to just keep a little bit of the sky in here. Now my aim with this picture was to have this beautiful foreground where the rocks are, and then you can see that the water's just flowing down off the rocks here, and then you're kind of pulled back up all the way to the main bridge here again, which is just an absolutely beautiful leading line. So it's a great picture, and it's a picture that I'm quite happy with. But at the same time, there's quite a few things in this picture that I'd like to change. And I thought that would be a good reason that I would use it in today's tutorial. So the first thing that we're going to focus on today is we're going to be making global changes to the image. I do make, specific changes, but that's not something I've done until I've got the picture to a certain place which I'm quite happy with where it is in Lightroom. Now the very first thing that I always do without fail is I crop the image down to the size that I want it. So that's what we're going to do to start with. And it's really simple. You just come along here, make sure you're in Develop module, and then just click on the crop. Now I'm looking at this image, and of course the distraction in this image is the sky. But I did say a minute ago that I tried this with the complete sky cut off, and it didn't look very good. So let's see if I can get a balance between this. I'm going to just crop this down here to just where the top of this bit of green here is just popping out above the bridge. And then I'll click done. So that's just brought it down slightly, but it hasn't ruined the composition of the photo. So I'm quite happy with where that is. So that's the first step for me. I always go ahead and crop the image to where I want it to be. Now the next step is to get the white balance in the image correct. But before we go and make any changes, there is something which I'm going to show you how to do. You probably already know how to do this, but most lenses will kind of not capture the image exactly how it is. You'll have distortion, you'll have warping, and you'll even have some vignetting. And a great way to take care of this in Lightroom is to come along to lens corrections and then just click these two options here. And if you watch the image, you'll see that it's made a change to the image there. Now, my lens profile here is already loaded into Lightroom. This may not be the case with yours, the lens that you're using or the brand. So all you need to do is just come to make, click here, and then you can choose exactly which make of camera or lens, should I say, that you're using. And then the model, and then the profile if you need that as well. And also what I like to do is I like to bring the distortion, because I do get a little bit of distortion on my 24mm prime lens. So I'm just going to bring this up and remove it. Now you can add vignetting into your image as a stylistic add-on, and it's something that I actually do quite a lot in my photos, just a little bit of vignetting. But in this case, what I usually do is I take it away to start with, and then I make the decision later on if I actually want to add any of it in. So that's what I've done now. So they're the first two things I always do, and then the next step is to go on to white balance. Now white balance is just to change, obviously, the white balance of the image. Now, as you can see, at the moment the image is quite blue, and it's quite close to actually how it was on the day because of the sky, but it's not exact. So there's a few ways you can change that. If you jump into the basic tab, you can do it with the white balance selector here. Then if you choose a neutral colour, let's choose this kind of bluish colour here, which is quite similar. And then you can see that actually Lightroom's done a pretty good job of taking care of that. But it's a little bit too orange for my liking, and the reason is because it wasn't that orange on the day. There was definitely no sun around, that's for sure. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a step back by pressing Ctrl Z. And another way which I like to change the white balance, and I find it's a great way for having complete control, is just to go up to the temperature and then just push it up a little bit. So that's what I've done there, and that's just took away a bit of the blue, added in a bit of the orange, but it's not added too much orange in, let's say. Okay, that's great. The white balance is where I want it to be now. So we've made the first three changes. These are the first three steps that I always take. Now from here, things can change. So I've watched plenty of videos on YouTube, and some of them have been exceptionally good, where photographers have explained their, let's say, their step-by-step process of how they actually edit photos in Lightroom. Now, the reason why this is not fully accurate is because that with different images, you're going to be using different processes, or a different step-by-step process, should I say, to edit your photos with. So for instance, with this image you can see that it's all about the leading line. It's all about that strong leading line from the foreground off the rocks here, and then it takes you all the way up to the main bridge. So I'm going to edit this photo in a certain way, but if I was, say, standing, you know, on top of a big vista and I was shooting across at these beautiful mountains around about blue hour, and the image was all about texture and colour, so you've got the silhouettes and you've got a blue and an orange, which is a strong colour running through the picture, then it's going to be a different kind of style of editing that I'm going to be using to actually edit that photo, because it's less about the leading line and more about the composition, that's colour and that's also texture. So that's why, even though in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you what to do with this image, it can change a little bit. So it's important to, you know, really concentrate on what you're going to be learning in this tutorial, but at the same time also to remember that this is not a hard fast rule that you've got to take the same steps in the same order every time. You know, if your image is different, then you can do it back to front, or you can just change it in a different way. So the next step I take is to change the lights and darks in the image. That's most of the times the next step I'll take, and it's definitely going to be the case in this image, because you can see that here I've lost a lot of detail in the shadows. Now I know a lot of people will just push up the exposure and they'll kind of be happy with that, and that can sometimes work. But in this case I'm going to work on it individually. So I've got my shadows, which I'm going to push up there, and that's going to bring me back some detail in the shadow area. Now the highlights, obviously this here is, you know, a bit brighter than I want. It's something that I'm probably going to work on in the next installment of this video series, and I'm probably going to use something called a graduated filter, but we're not going to go into that too much now. But as a whole, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just bring the highlights down a little bit, and about there's good. Now let's just have a quick look at the before and after to see how far we've come. It's always good to look at your base image, because sometimes your eyes can adjust, and when they do adjust you can have a completely warped sense of view of what the image was like originally. So this is the image to start with. There we go. It's very blue, and yeah, it's too blue and it's too dark. So let's just flip this back. Now you can see that we've made a few changes to the image and it does look considerably better already. Okay, so let's quickly now move on. Let's get through a few things here. So the next thing I do is I've took care of the exposure level, but separately. So I've done that with the shadows and the highlights. Let's do that as a whole now. So I'm going to just bring up the exposure slightly to about there. That's looking good. Now you can always just click on this, by the way, and then just push up and down with your arrows. That's sometimes a better way to do it. Gives you a bit more control. Sometimes dragging a slider up and down, it's a bit fiddly, and you can end up pushing it all the way up or pulling it all the way down. So I've just pushed up my exposure just a little bit there. Now I'm just going to bring back some colour in the blacks. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to push up the blacks. Now you can see that the image is a lot more balanced now, and that is reflected right here in the histogram. To start with, everything was really far over towards the left hand side in the shadows, and it's starting to balance more now and come more towards the right hand side there. So one thing that has happened with balancing all this out is we've lost a little bit of contrast. So we want to bring the contrast back in. So great news for us, we have a slider to do that with. So I'm just going to push up the contrast just to about 17 there, and that's looking really nice. Now the next thing I'm going to work on is clarity. Clarity adds more detail in the mid-tone colours of an image. Now there's probably a more detailed way of explaining that, but that's the way I always remember it. So it's kind of a way of sharpening, and it just brings out more detail in the image, but more in the mid-tones, let's say. So I like using clarity because if you've seen the style of image which I photograph and edit, you'll know that usually my colours are kind of quite punchy and quite saturated, but not too saturated, and I've got more vivid pictures. So I like to use the clarity to help that to stand out. So as you can see in the image here, what I'm going to do is just zoom in a little bit to the rocks, and I'm going to base my clarity that I'm going to be adding on them. So if I just push the clarity up, that's quite a nice amount there. Now, you never want to push clarity too far, because if you do push it too far, then you can completely ruin the image. In fact, let me show you what I mean. So zoom out, I'm going to push the clarity all the way up, and watch how powerful a change it can make. There you go. And that just looks like something from another world, but not in a good way. So I'm going to bring that right down, and we're going to start it at 5 and just push it up a bit more. I'm going to use these rocks as a reference point here. Let's just zoom in, sorry. And this is going to enable me to see exactly how much clarity I'm adding in close up. So I think at about 20, or 25 actually, I think about there is good. So let's zoom out. So now we have a lot of the global changes that I was looking to make originally, I have made just in the basic tab. Now there is obviously a few more changes which I will make. In fact, I'm just going to bring that clarity down a bit. It's just a bit too high. Let's bring that down to 15. So there we go. Now what I'm going to do next is I usually just enhance the vibrance a little bit at the start. I won't touch the saturation because I like to do this with individual colours. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this with the vibrance just a little bit, just to pump up the colours and bring that to about 15. And you can see that this is really starting to take shape as an image now. Now I'm going to bring your attention back to the image at the start, which is this. And here it is now. Now, this is a perfect example of being able to take the image too far, because I'm just looking at this here and I'm thinking that actually, if anything, the image is probably slightly too bright. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab that exposure and bring it down a little bit to about there. And that now is a lot more accurate. Now of course, remember, if you feel that your highlights are too bright, you can always go in and then just bring them down a bit as well, like that. And that is a lot better. And you can see it's reflected quite well in the histogram here. Now finally, you can, if you want to, use something called Haze. Now I always use this sparingly because once again, if I push it all the way up, you can see it just does crazy, horrible looking things to the photo. So I'm going to bring that all the way down. And as you can see, there's a little bit of haze in the image, just around here. So if I can just get rid of that slightly, I will do. Let's just click on dehaze and just bring it up. Now I don't want to dehaze it any more than, say, about 7, because otherwise it starts giving you this strange kind of dark edge to the image. So quickly, this is the before and this is the after. So that's the first change that we're going to make in this video series. It's just a global change really, and it's really important to make changes in the basic tab to start with before you start going in and changing everything individually. Now in the next video, I'm going to take you through colour and also how to make some kind of specific changes to certain parts of the image. I hope you enjoyed this instalment, guys. Now next week, remember, I'm going to be off to Wales. I'm going to be visiting the tallest waterfall in the UK, so make sure you check that video out. Can't wait for that. And then the following week I'm in Snowdonia for 2 or 3 days on a photography adventure there. So I've got lots coming up which I'm really looking forward to. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit the next instalment of this kind of smack in the middle of all that, so that you're not waiting too long for it. Whatever you do today, guys, I hope you have a great time, and I'll see you again next week.